That'll fix that audio problem at least. Yay.
JavaScript, we're going where we pull some APIs. In a way, it's kind of like this, where you're getting from a class from Java. It's already built out. So like all these system constructors, I have in the program I have, it's commented out, but these get from the class. So like if I run that, it'll show the day of the week. But you're supposed to be able to do something. No, right, like you're supposed to look the calendar for that.
Hey, have I got everybody here? I heard Taylor, right? So put you up here. No, yeah.
I didn't get mine to really work. It's not doing anything based on what the person is.
Okay, our Zoom session is going. Good job spreading out, so you could have 2 monitors. So you should be able to activate that on one of them if you like. And Jay's been nice enough to create a really ugly problem that we would like everybody to look at. Very nice of him. Oh, he's making it worse. Justin, will you help Michael get to the Zoom session and show him where that link is and stuff, because he was gone last time.
Okay.
And let's see, Taylor, you were on that.
Okay.
And now whatever you want open, you drag it to the side here.
Not sure before the
Yeah, when she first takes the share, it goes to full screen. You have to do the exit screen and then zoom it out. What it normally goes to is this fit to window.
Yeah.
So I always, so I take it to a original size of 100%. Makes it the only character that it's not as wide as that. So you've got this. That you can pull it back and forth so you can see what you want to see. The best thing is you zoom on
Make them figure it out. See, that seems so easy, but that is so long. Okay, if everybody's got that Zoom session, Jay's problem is pretty good. It's a pretty good one. And he's got Netbeans up. So we're going to take this opportunity to look at this problem right now before we start our class stuff, because we just don't get this kind of opportunity all the time. So Jay, if you would use the Zoom share thing to share your screen with us, we should be able to see it.
I think you have to unshare.
Do I have to unshare?
Yeah, you'll have to unshare.
Does it, oh yeah, I can unshare, that's right. Okay, so that's you. I changed the home screen, so click on instructor and go down to the bottom. While they're finding that Zoom session, you guys check Revel. You should see some assignments now. Remember, they're not for points. They're just to try to keep you organized on your reading and stuff like that. So check it and see if you can see them. They just got put out there minutes ago. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
They have the code now.
We don't have any structure per se. Oh, there it is. There we go. Yeah. There we go. That part. Now down at the bottom.
You know, obvious.
Yes, it is. I'm not grabbing my reading glasses.
You gotta open your eyes.
Yes.
I know I had a guy yesterday in C#1 that's staring right at the thing I'm telling him to find, and he couldn't see it. Stress. Stress. He's getting there. He's got a really big, bad, ugly problem.
You want to share that?
Thank you so much.
Now you can show us
That's
what
so
we're
helpful.
trying to learn.
Okay, so first thing, Jay has it, obviously he got it running because he's got his output down here, but he broke it again so that he could show you what was going on. So Jay, first, can you try to run this now? And let's make sure we've got our error. Now, he's gonna stop right here at this screen. This is an important thing. It says one or more of your projects were compiled with errors. What happens if he says run anyway? He's running a really old version of his Java code that happened to get compiled the last time it worked, right? He is not looking at or running the code that is in front of him. He's running a prior version. So never say run anyways, because you're always looking at an old version of your code. So that was our first thing. Don't do that to yourself, because man, you can spend a whole bunch of time not being able to understand why it's not doing what you told it to, because there's a compile error. So let's cancel. Well, if there's a compile error, shouldn't he see something in Netbeans? Shouldn't he have some big red thing telling him there's an error? He doesn't have any big red things telling him there's an error. So where could he go? What should he look at?
The little red mark on the sidebar.
On the side over here, it's showing.
All the way at the top.
It's showing an error up here at the very top. And then it is giving us some sort of hint of red down here at the very bottom. Is that the very bottom of your code? If you click on that, does it take you to the bottom? That little marker? Yep, so it's something to do with the bottom, right? But now that was really good. Did you guys notice those little teeny tick marks? Another area is over here in our projects area. We can see that there's an error in this project. We still don't see source code that's showing us where the error is, but we see, oh, there's an error in this sucker somewhere. Well, these ones that it's Colleen, right? Carleen. The ones that Carleen noticed are actually the most helpful, because when Jay clicked on that lowest red one, Netbeans did kind of try to say something. So what do you think's wrong? Click on that for us again. What's his problem there? Why is it not being able to give us an error, but yet it's not working?
He has the wrong amount of curly braces.
Exactly. He's missing his last closing curly brace. And that's a really simple problem, but oh my gosh, it can be really hard to find, right? Because it's not, why are we not getting a better error? Netbeans didn't realize there was an error until it was all done processing that Java file. So it doesn't know where the error was. It's like, somehow I ran out of Java code before I should have. So I didn't really know what kind of error to give you. So you might see some really, really weird things like that. Now that you put that curly brace in, what happens when you try to run it? Is everything good and happy in the world? And it took it a second. Because I mean, like when you first put that closing curly brace in, it kind of griped for a little while till it figured out that that's really what it was missing. Is it working now? So although there's lots of magic stuff in computers, that's not one of them. It just ran out of code before it figured out where the end was. So.
But how many of you checked for 12 to 13? Well,
He wants to know if you got your range checked in for your month values. So he's awesome at range checking. So he's working on this calendar assignment, and remember, that's what I told you all, that you could do that because we've had so much trouble with Revel and getting our access code and all of those kinds of things that I won't be counting anybody late on that. Just remember for you that we have another assignment due Tuesday night, so you don't want to start getting behind. So, you know, just try to get as much done as you possibly can, and if you have to make a decision between one or the other, don't forget at the end of the semester, Canvas will be set to drop your lowest assignment score, but we just don't want to have that lowest one so early if we can help it, because something else might happen. But it'll get rid of one of them anyways. Yeah, so each of your different categories, except I think the unit exam one, we don't have enough things to maybe drop one, but I'll double check. Because I do try and drop the lowest out of each category, because we can all have bad days, right? And we don't want those just messing up our whole grade.
On the solution, if I ran it,
Uh-huh.
it's coming up with errors, so it was hard for me to go, you know,
Uh-huh.
again.
Well, let me know and we'll take a look at it. So it's probably missing some of the support files or something that it needs to run. So we'll find it. So today we need to go upstairs and sign the instructor's office thing so that that assignment is all done. I don't quite have our signature sheet ready yet to take up there. So we'll try to do that today. But if we don't get to it, don't worry. We can do it Tuesday and it'll be no problem. So now the other things that are here, the week 2 info that has some instructor videos. These videos are just about our chapter content. Because we have been rushed between my problems and our textbook problems, you may have to refer to these videos to really get the content, because we're not really going to have a lot of time in our class to do a lot of lecturing, because I want you guys to have time for practicing. The great thing about abstract classes and all of this stuff that we're talking about in this chapter is that we'll be kind of utilizing these concepts through the semester, so we'll get a lot of experience to work with them. We talked last time just real quick about an abstract class, and I wanted to bring up another item that we could look at here. Here's an object, and I know with examples there could be so many, and good ones and bad ones. Have you seen one of these? It doesn't do much. I don't have it charged up, so it's kind of dead. So if I looked at this as an object, I could just say it's just a ball, right? It's actually called a Sphero, so it's a little small robot. So it has some sensors and things like that built into it. So as an object, because when we set up a class, we're always thinking of objects. If I were talking about that Sphero ball as an object, and I wanted to create a Sphero class, then I could start my UML diagram thinking about the things that are attributes of this Sphero ball. So what kind of attributes does this thing have?
A sphere.
It's a sphere. So we don't really need to keep track of that as a property, though. I guess we could say it has a shape, maybe, and then we'll say its shape is a sphere, because otherwise it's all just the same. It could have a color. If it were turned on, we would see a color. We could say it probably has a top speed, different things like that. So a lot of properties or characteristics about the Sphero. Now, if we wanted to go further with our UML diagram and say, well, we want to document some of the Sphero's actions or capabilities, right? Because when I'm working with a class, an object, it has those attributes, the data, right? And then it has basically methods or actions. So for my Sphero, some of the actions that I might have could be really simple things like move forward, move backward, I don't know, go left, all sorts of things. Now, when we are working with Java, we've seen that sometimes when we have an object like this, we need to get information from it. So I might have a method like get speed or get trajectory. I could have all sorts of them. About all the different sensors and things that are in here, there might be information that I could get from this object about each of those different sensors. Now also with Java, I might want to set some of those properties, right? So I could do set speed, set trajectory. So now it doesn't matter whether I'm writing code using Java, C#, Python, let's see, whatever is object-oriented, I have this information here documented that I say I need to keep track of this for a Sphero object. So doesn't really have a lot to do with programming at that point. Yes, sir?
Would speed be better to say action?
Action?
Yeah, because you want to set it to.
It could be, but we're not in a design meeting right now. So we'll leave that for those design people to fight it out. Because yeah, this UML diagram is real basic and can have lots of changes. But we have a design team that's going to work for 75 hours next week to hash all that out. So we'll let them take care of it. We have our basics down that we're going to send with them. Well, what if I want to modify this Sphero now? I've created my base object, right? Now this is going to be an object that I can instantiate, right? I can create an instance of a Sphero. It's not abstract, right? It's concrete. I've got this concrete instance of my Sphero class. If it were abstract, I wouldn't be able to create one until I had more information. But this one is concrete. But yet I want to extend it. Why would I want to extend it? Well, I have this really cool new thing, another object, a Sphero cover, right? So I could cover up the Sphero when I extend the Sphero class with my Sphero cover class, right? Now, when I put my Sphero cover on here, it has some properties, some attributes and things that are separate. So Sphero, sorry, I'm behind the thing. Cover, what does it have? It has its own color. It might have a material. Probably not a lot of other properties that have to do with this cover thing, right? Because it doesn't really have a lot of things that it does. It's pretty much just a cover. So I'll say, okay, I have a color and a material for this. And then when I have the methods that I might use for a Sphero cover, I might have methods that are like, put it on, take it off. That sounds bad, doesn't it? But that's what I would do with my Sphero cover. Now, some other methods that I might have, you know, maybe I could get the color or set the color. But all of those things, again, only have to do with this cover, right? They don't have to do with the original Sphero. But when I put this cover on here that extends my Sphero class, my cover can't exist unless there's a Sphero. I really can't do anything anyways. It's kind of dependent upon that Sphero. So I could make it extend my Sphero class. Now when it extends my Sphero class, whether I have the cover on or off, is the Sphero object itself still the same? Right? It still has all the same properties, all of the same methods that it had originally. So my parent here has not been affected at all by the fact that it's been extended by another class, right? What about when I'm working with my cover? Is my Sphero cover going to be associated with that Sphero object? It's going to have all of those attributes? Yeah, all of those attributes for this Sphero object still exist. They're still available. They're in the parent class. This child class is just extending it, just making it have a few more capabilities, a few more attributes and features.
Is that the same as inheriting it, or is it?
Yes, inheriting it, extending it, exactly the same. And a lot of times, there's a lot of different keywords like that. So make sure and always bring it up, because depending on what book or topic you're looking at, you might see a little bit different of an explanation. So a lot of things there for us. We have a parent. Good. Super. Base class. Any other terms you can think of that you've seen or heard that describe that parent class? What is? Parent. And then we saw it could be abstract or it could be concrete. And I bet we could come up with some more, so let me know if you think of any. Now, the cover is the child, subclass. What else? Think of any others? If you've heard of any others, because this is just new material to you, so you might not have heard any others, that's fine. Whereas you've been working with the base class for a while. Now, when we're working with a connection, we'll hear people say it inherits from, or it extends the base class or the parent. Now, while we're looking at this, let's create a OneNote notebook for our Java class so you guys can keep some notes and things like that in it. Now, who's used OneNote before? Oh, no, just starting today. Okay. The biggest problem that I have with OneNote is getting one created. Once they're created, it's not a problem. So I found a few things that are really clunky and here on our OTC network that will help us. First, go to office.com on the web and sign in. And you guys that are in the CIS171 classes, you know, let me know if there's a magic way that I'm not being able to find, and I'll try to remember. So now that you've got signed in to office.com, you should see all of your OneDrive stuff and all of your Office stuff. This is where you would go to download Office for free at home. Now that I'm logged in, I'm going to close it, close this tab, and I'm going to bring up OneNote on the desktop. Once OneNote is open, I'm going to choose File, New. I'm going to try to get everybody to that spot because it is amazingly hard for us to all get there. Now, did you do it from the desktop or from here?
I did it.
Don't do it from there. You gotta do it from your start menu.
Okay, then we'll go to May.
Let's see what it's got. So the problem is that's it. It won't let you sign in there. Yeah. So now do close this. Perfect. Like I said, creating one can be kind of a pain. You guys look good. Everybody's got their file new screen. Okay, that's what it does. You're fighting to the death.
Yeah.
So try to close
Might
out.
want to check this one and see what it's doing. That's
File new. It shouldn't keep getting you in that sign in a loop.
This is me trying to open.
So close that. Close your Okay, now you file it. We'll see if it works. It is so clunkety. And it's like some of it is network security where it's like trying to log you on and it won't let you, and then other parts are other things. All right, if everybody's filed new one, where do you want to save this OneNote notebook? I'm going to put mine on my OneDrive so that I can get to it from home. So I want to be really careful. And in my options here, I want to click on this OneDrive Ozarks Technical Community College. I do not want to choose Sites or my personal OneDrive, or I'll get back into another one of those sign-on loops and never get out of it. If you pick OneDrive Ozarks Technical Community College, it should work and let you see all of your OTC OneDrive stuff. Then I can browse. It's showing, I don't think it's showing me the right thing. Hang on, I want to make sure I'm looking at the right place because getting them in the wrong place is a real bear. So let's see, OneDrive. Browse, there's my OneDrive. It starts out up at the top. You should see this OTC0/my blah, blah, blah stuff. That means you're in the right place. That's your OneDrive. And I'm going to go into my OneNote notebooks folder that I have created on my OneDrive. And then I'm going to type in a name for this new notebook, CIS171 SP19, and click Create. Now, if everything goes good, you should get this message about inviting people, and you can just say, not now. Hopefully then, when you're home, you should just be able to bring up OneNote, you file open, and do that same thing. Go to your Ozarks Technical Community College. Nothing?
No, create. I gave it a folder.
Give it a name. It says name.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So now that you've got this open, let's look at how we can use OneNote. A lot of you said you've used it. A lot of you hadn't. OneNote is just another Office product, so it works just like all the others. First of all, I have my menus pinned so they stay open. If your menus have been set to auto hide, they might not be showing to you like this. So let me collapse mine and show you how to do that. So now I'm looking at all this hidden stuff. Across the top here, I have tabs. I can add many, many tabs to my notebook. And then within each tab, I can set up many, many pages. So this is the, what was that? What was Cartman's Trapper Keeper? It was like that Trapper Keeper 2700 or something that took over the world. You remember? OneNote can give you that capability because you can keep everything in there. It's just like a giant Trapper Keeper. So tabs across the top, pages within each tab, and then menus to help us do things. So if I wanted to make this new section 1 into chapter 13, I could double click here on this tab to go into rename mode. And I could say, oh, this is chapter 13, inheritance. Then I could have notes. And on my notes page, say I wanted to draw some of this. Well, I can use the draw menu. And now I want to pin it. I don't want that thing to auto hide or roll up every time I use it. So I can use my push pin over here to pin it so it doesn't keep hiding. You guys might like it hiding if you have a 4.5-inch screen that you're using, but I would like to use my space and see my options. All right, so what could I do? I could like put a box in here. I don't know what, maybe I need to insert. I've got a table there. I'm not seeing a really good shape, maybe just on my home screen. Oh, there they are. They're hiding from me. They were on that draw screen. I wasn't paying good attention. Right in the middle are the shapes. So I could grab a triangle and place it on the screen. Notice that I might have this yellow highlighter selected as I'm doing that. But then I could just type in here, here is some stuff, and I could move things around. And I could rename it or redo it however I want. Now, if I feel like my time is pretty valuable and I don't have enough time to recreate this, I could come up here with my phone, take a picture, and post that picture to my OneNote notebook, right? Because then I would have it saved. Or if I wanted to get something off Google that I thought would be a really good addition to this, I could do so. Let's see what we can find on Google, because I want to show you how to make another page. I'm going to bring up a browser. And I'm going to find the ultimate Java inheritance picture. So I'm going to search for Java inheritance, and I'm going to look for images. No one wants to plagiarize, but it's perfectly acceptable for you to copy an image from Google and paste it into your OneNote notebook. You're not sharing that with anybody. You're not going to make money off of it. You're not planning on publishing it. So it's perfectly legal for you to grab any sort of information that you like. Let's see, what would be good for me? I kind of like this one about sandwiches. You know, sandwich is the base class here. We have cold ones and hot ones and frozen ones. And then we have additional inheritance under each of those types. So that picture is pretty good. Oh, and scroll down and can find all sorts of so find one you like. There's a stack. That one's a little ugly. Ooh, maybe this one is good. Here's one that talks about car classes. They say I could have a class that's a convertible, and then I could have a roadster that extends convertible. That seems backwards to me. But that's all right. It gives us the same idea that our convertible has certain characteristics, and we're going to add to those for a roadster that has a little bit different. So find one you like, and let's snip it. I'm going to use the snipping tool. So I will bring up the snipping tool. I'm going to create a new snip and grab my sandwich, one that I like, and then I should be able to pop back to my OneNote, add a page. I will make this be inheritance, and then I can paste my image and move it around or whatever I want to do. So because OneNote is just another Office product, you can use all of the same tools that you're used to using with Word and PowerPoint and all those kinds of things. Now you can also embed PowerPoint presentations into OneNote. You can embed YouTube videos into OneNote. Last semester, some students who were taking the capstone course and C#2 and SQL and having a pretty rough semester said that they were able to keep everything in OneNote and keep it all straight because they could just go ahead and load videos directly into their OneNote notebook. They could take that with them wherever they went, and when they brought it up, they had all of the information that they need. And Dr. Ford, our department head, when she became a doctor, she said that OneNote was what helped her get through all of her PhD classes, because she could keep her research and all of her different information in OneNote, and everything was great. Now let me show you how to import a PowerPoint, because this is kind of an interesting thing. Be our last thing. I'm going to go back to our Canvas course. And I'm going to go into modules. And I'm just going to try to find a PowerPoint. Most of the ones that are out here, if you notice, are from the textbook, and they're pretty good sized. I'll get this chapter 13 one. It's going to be a big file. When I look at it in Canvas, I have this link to download it. I'm going to go ahead and download it. On this machine, I don't have anything set up for my download location, so it's just going straight to my downloads folder. So I want to look at my downloads folder. And there's that PowerPoint. It's named 13 Slides. So it doesn't have a very glamorous name. But I have it now. And I want to put it into my OneNote notebook. So before I put it in, I'm going to create a whole new tab here. And I'm going to say this is the chapter 13 PowerPoint. Now I can just drag that file and drop it, or I can right click and copy and then right click and paste. Either one's fine. But I'm going to drag it and drop it into OneNote. Now here when I get these options, I have really important choices. If I choose insert or attach file, it's just going to put a link in here. And if I click on that link, it'll try to open the PowerPoint for me in PowerPoint. But if you would choose insert printout, it's going to create a page for you for every slide in that PowerPoint. So it might take it a second. We'll watch it go. Last spring break, I got to go to a Microsoft conference in Vegas, and there were people there from all around the world. And I noticed everybody was using OneNote, and I use OneNote Psalm, but not like they were. So I got out my laptop, and my crusty old OTC laptop. Kind of embarrassed. But I got it out anyways. It finally opened up. And I thought, well, I'll try some OneNote stuff. And I started watching everybody around. And everybody was doing this with all of the PowerPoints for the sessions they were going to. And so I kind of messed with it enough to see how to do it. It's an awesome way to handle things. Because I have all of these presentations and all of the information about the presenters and everything in this OneNote notebook that I created while I was in Vegas, I can answer any questions. If my boss said, "What were you doing Wednesday afternoon at 3? I heard you were at the casino." I'd be like, maybe, let me check. And I can find it and check and see, oh, look, here's no. But really, I can go and find all that information, and it's really helpful. But this is a big one, so it's taking it a little bit to load. And we'll see that hopefully the benefits of it are worth that. But I liked seeing all of these people from Asian countries and like Holland and all of those Portuguese countries there. They're all using Microsoft products and Java.
So you said you could like take pictures with your phone?
Sure. Just paste it in there just like it was a Word document. So you could do it however you want. And actually, anytime you do a file print on Windows, if you go to change your printer, you'll notice one of your printer options is OneNote. And if you choose that, when you say print, it'll actually pop up and ask you what OneNote notebook you want to put it into. And it'll actually print that document into that notebook for you. So that gives you some capabilities too. One place that's really important is if you wanted to save emails. We don't have to worry about it too much, but sometimes people have charged emails where there's some sort of argument or something going on, and they'll always print all those kind of emails to OneNote so that they can keep it all organized and keep track of everything and say, well, on the 13th you said this. But OneNote lets us do that. Okay, mine's finally done. So what I've got here then, in my tab that was the PowerPoint, I have a page for every page in that PowerPoint. So that's one thing that's great, but I mean, that's not a lot better than opening it in PowerPoint. What makes it better is now you can use all these tools. So if you want to highlight something, I'll do that here. Highlight it with blue. I'll go back to my typing tool and I can click and make some notes. Here are my notes. I can click somewhere else, some more great stuff. And I could put pictures or whatever I wanted to in here. And then I could share it with my teammates if I needed to. And they would be able to update it and do all these things. So OneNote will help you stay organized and keep all of your stuff together. So you guys decide how you want to use it. Every day when we come into class, the best thing would be for me to say, open Zoom, open your OneNote notebooks, open this, open that. And I'll try to do that, but then we'll run out of class time. So there gets to be a point where it'll just be up to you as to whether you like using it or not. Some people have such strong memories, they don't need to have a lot of tools. Others of us need lots of tools. So either way is fine. Okay, let me close this. So we've got too much to do here.
Does it work with Excel too on OneNote?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. So you can embed anything in there and it'll just pop right to Word or Excel or whatever you want to use for it. Database stuff. It's a really good tool. So it should really help you a lot just to keep organized. Let everybody else know if you run into something that you think is super helpful, because you might find something that nobody else has really come across. Now, we could also use OneNote to hold projects in code. So don't forget that. You could copy and paste some code in here too, and then you could mark it up.
So if we took the format that, you know, you have the homework,
Uh-huh.
if you took that after you finished it in Word, pasted it into OneNote, can you then paste that into the
From OneNote, you would have to like print it as a PDF because you can't paste in the Canvas.
yeah, but can you print it? Oh, so you could not bring it up to turn in.
No, but that would be a really good place for you to keep it though, that you had it there in your OneNote notebook and you could have notes and stuff on it. So that would be a good place. No, you'd have to actually go, let's see, like say this picture here. I could right click on it, but it still won't let me print it or anything. So try it, because that's a great idea. See what you can come up with, but I think it's going to be the other direction, is you would be able to take that Word document that you submitted to Canvas and save it in OneNote so you could get to it. See what you do. So let's try that. Okay, so let's go to Revel. You guys should see some assignments, I hope. The most important thing is, again, keep working on your calendar assignment. If you haven't turned it in, if you have, great, but I'm not going to go crazy with dates on that one because we weren't able to access everything that we needed to access.
So when would you say it would be due? Because I've already submitted, but I thought it was due.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, just redo if you want. I probably won't start grading it until at least after the weekend.
Okay.
So, yeah. Let's just say it's due next week with that other one on Tuesday night. Give you guys an extra week on that because it's just been such a mess. You what? Let's take a look.
Yeah.
Because I know it's different in different classes. So we don't have too many categories. Our categories are your final project, assignments, quizzes, and unit exams. So it'll be in your assignments. And I want to say, Chris, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm thinking, let me check this rule. Yeah, it drops the lowest 2 scores because you guys really have quite a few projects. And so I've just set it over the semesters I've taught to drop 2 because that seems to be better than just 1.
I'm just wondering, like, looking at our, we have 3 assignments due on Tuesday. I'm wondering if the Revel assignment is in addition to that, or
it's included in those. So the Revel assignment is never points. So it's always just your reading, basically, in practice. So let's take a look at it. So let's make sure everybody can get to it. And again, if you do Pearson Revel within Canvas, you should be able to click on our course. And if I go to student view, hopefully it looks like yours. You should be seeing this chapter 13 assignment. Are you seeing it? Have you seen it?
Yes.
So what we had our problem with last time, we were able to get in there for the reading. So let's try it. So let me start it. down at the very bottom is in May is the assignment for the stuff that's not the readings. And I just separated them that way because these practice activities are huge. So I tried to make the main assignment just the reading, and these practice activities everything else. So that's how I've got it organized. So when you go down and you find the stuff that's due in May, that's all the practice. So that should be your case studies. I clicked on that case study with all of their answers and all of the code that's included in the case study and our questions. So let's find some questions, because last time we were able to get into the reading eventually, and you guys were being able to see stuff, but then when I went into that quiz, you couldn't. So I'm going to go all the way back to the top so we can start out together. Maybe. Assignments. So do you see a screen like this?
No, you're back on non-student.
Yeah.
I'm still on this.
But if you click on that one, is it doing anything?
It sends me to this.
Does it let you do anything in that?
I can click on it and go through and read.
Can you read? It is letting you read? Because
Yeah.
I need to totally change their interface when you, this beautiful earthen thing. Oh, you're seeing that.
Well, I haven't want to. I can't actually access it with my child with reviews.
So how did you do it?
Oh, that was on Zoom.
Oh, I always think that. I think, oh, look at you go. And I'm terrible with the Zoom thing. All right, so let me get my student view back, and we'll try that.
Are the quizzes in the May 12 work?
Do what?
Are the quizzes in the May 12 works and nothing on Revel grading is this?
It's all just for you, just practice. But remember, it's all from the same textbook. So if you do the quizzes here, that's going to help you with the real quiz that's on Canvas. Okay? But these are all just practice. So anything in Revel, just for you, just practice, not points.
Any assignments that we be receiving from Revel?
All of these are set up as assignments in Revel. So that's how they're set up, is just your reading. So no, you will never get an assignment in Revel that's worth points. It's all just what you need to be able to complete the actual assignments. So they're all together. But no, I didn't put the assignments in Revel because it's like, for a brand new beginning programmer, it's very picky. It makes you enter the code exactly the way it wants it. You have to do things exactly the way it wants it. And you guys are in Java too. I don't want you limited like that. I want you to be able to be more creative and say, well, I think I want to solve that problem this way. And Revel just keeps you too trapped into what it actually wants. So that's why we'll just use it for reference. So let's try this one. Click on Abstract Classes and Interfaces if you can get back to this point. And make sure that you can get into this first reading assignment, that things move properly, that it's all working the way it should. You should be seeing videos. So this should be just like having the textbook. This assignment should be just reading the chapter, going through all of the information. Now, if that looks good, let's go back to our assignment screen.
This little self-check checkpoints actually work.
And I'm going to scroll way down. And I'm going to find this May 12th. And click on it. And right away, the first thing is the quiz. So let's click on that. This Abstract Classes quiz was the one we got to last time. It shows us the reading, so you can actually go through this module this way. You guys will figure out all sorts of ways to handle it. But I want to scroll down to the end and try this multiple choice question. And you can try any of them, I think, because you guys weren't being able to see any of them. The quizzes.
If you go back
Okay.
to that previous screen,
Uh-huh.
you close that tab. And click the arrow to the right.
Uh-huh.
It'll take you to the quiz.
That's what we needed. Okay,
And
perfect.
this time it actually matches.
Does it match? So if I click start, I should see that first question. So you guys are all seeing it now?
Yep.
Oh, yay. We don't need to do any sort of pop-up changing of our configuration or anything. We're all seeing it.
Click that. And just
So go
click-
one more
and just click start. Then it starts on the quiz. You go to that.
and start. And then on that first question, you should see it.
Oh, crap. He wants me to sign in there.
Your question.
Oh,
Oh, there you
start. There it is. We'll get there.
go.
You guys will be like, don't do it that way. Do it some other way. That's fine. Revel has changed a lot, and if you want to do it some other way, you let me know and we'll reorganize it. But right now, that's how I have it. Because your reading is separate and your practice is separate because they have reams and reams and reams and reams of practice stuff for you. And if you get through all of that, you're going to be an amazing programmer.
Yeah, sure.
So there's probably more than what you need. So this first one, let's try it. Oh, go back or close that tab, they say.
And go back to. Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought it was doing. That's it.
Nope, you're forgetting one chair.
I wanted to put my Philly braces.
How we learned because I got to run first time.
Oh, so scroll all the way down.
Come back.
There it is. It started. Woo! 20 minutes later. All right, this says the abstract class desktop component contains an abstract method named onClicked that is void returning and accepts no parameters. Provide the declaration of this method. Huh? First of all, how do we declare a method? We start out with our access mode. Is this method going to be public or private? Well, I'm going to try public. You try private if you want. That's fine. So what else do we need there? We've got this public method. It's abstract and it's void returning. So can we put that keyword void right here? We want abstract first.
It works abstract first.
Yeah, abstract public void. Yeah, static goes for void, so abstract should, yeah.
Shouldn't public be first?
Public, abstract. Public.
Too much
abstract,
input.
void, yeah.
Which one goes first?
Yes. Your access method, public or private, always comes first. But why again, I am confused. I thought I was providing a declaration for a method. It doesn't, there's no such thing as an abstract method, is there? Just because it's an abstract class? Do I want an abstract method?
Yes, there is, because that forces your subclass to include it.
Okay, so that sounds perfect. So we want public abstract void. You're convincing me. What else next? OnClicked. Nothing else? Is that enough?
No, it needs to be a semicolon.
Semicolon?
The dot column.
Or curly braces?
No, not curly braces. printer braces that you print something there.
But if you put a semi, that ends it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposed to.
For an abstract.
Perfect. So for all of that discussion, very, very, very good. So because it was an abstract method, we're just declaring the abstract method and saying, it's like Jimmy said, if you could hear him up here, any class that inherits from this class must implement this method. Let's do next. What about this next one? We'll just try a couple of them. Banks and other financial service companies offer many types of accounts for clients to invest their funds. Every one of them has a notion of their current value, but the details of calculating such value depends upon the exact nature of the account. Write a public abstract class account, okay? Public abstract class account. I'll take that, just the order they gave it to us, huh? With the following. I want an integer static variable, next ID, initialized to 10,001. What's first, static or int? Oops, int next ID equals 10,001. An int instance variable ID, so that one would not be static. No initialization value. A string instance variable name Java string uppercase S. Thank you. They know sometimes I just forget between Java and C# and I absolutely have no idea. Okay, so there's our string name. Then a constructor that accepts a single string parameter used to initialize the name instance value. The constructor also assigns to ID the value of next ID, which is then incremented. Wow, we're going to write a program here. So first of all, our constructor is a constructor, usually public or private. Public, can't do a constructing if I can't get to the constructor. So it's going to be public. And then what's its name going to be? Yeah, sounds good, account. And it says that it's going to have a string parameter, and I should make that an uppercase S, used to initialize the name. So I'm going to set this name equal to our name variable, this ID equal to our next ID variable, and then they say we need to increment next ID. Now in this program, we also need two methods to access our ID and our name properties. So let's create those methods. Are these going to be public or private? What? Public. And we might, we might make it some other access level, but normally since these are things that are going to allow other classes to access our data, they're usually going to be public. This first one is going to be our get ID. So it's going to be returning an integer, and it's going to be named get ID, and it's just going to return our ID. And then I need another one that's going to do our get name. So it'll be returning a string value. You guys, this is really teeny text, so make sure you're using that Zoom session to see, because I don't want you to kill your eyes at this day. So now our get name will return our name. Ugh. And lastly, an abstract method named getValue that accepts no parameters and returns an object of type cache, okay? So this one is going to be public abstract. And we're going to return this cache thing. And our method is going to be called getValue. Now make sure that one looks right. Try to take you guys' input in the last one and say, okay, it's an abstract method, so it should start with public, have that abstract keyword, have our return type, then the name of the method and parameters, we don't have any, and then close that line of code since it's just that abstract method declaration. Does that look good? Should we copy all this or something to the clipboard before we click a button? Because I don't trust it. So, you know, I'm going to select this all. Control C. You know, it's just some days you feel better if you copy things before you send them off into the cybersphere. So I'm going to click submit. What was it mad about? Yeah, I didn't like it.
They gave me that it wanted it private.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, but there was
Is there?
Yeah, it wasn't just the private, it's also saying it was inherit from Java.lang.object.
Let's beat it down so that you can see why I made these things optional. So that's important. I should have made these private. We don't want all these private. Big deal. And I am noticing that I'm getting this red on this string. So I think that what they're saying about including java.lang.string, should we import it? Let's try it. Can we import it? I really honestly don't know if it'll let us do it that way. Java.lang.string.
Oh,
Nope, doesn't matter.
it wants you to use it for it, maybe just object instead of string.
Okay, just like, whoa. I did something to reset it, so now I lost my changes here. Private. 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 Import. I'll put the dot star.
That one doesn't work either.
Doesn't like it. Like that.
You have to scroll down.
So the only thing it's mad at me about is my import right now. Like I can't find that because I have to put something there. I'll try the dot star. Let it gripe at me.
Yeah, it doesn't want you to import it.
It liked it. It says I'm correct.
No, you might have got free attempt, so it's giving you a suggested solution.
Oh, good.
Oh, so it doesn't want you to declare variables. Oh, it wants you to declare them at the bottom.
Underneath the get value. That's weird, and I don't think it would have cared about them being at the top or the bottom, but that is weird. And you know, I had a couple of students in last semester's Java 1 class that did things this way. So we'll have to watch. This might be kind of an emerging convention of moving all of this stuff to the bottom, which would be really weird, but that would kind of separate Java from C# a little bit if we did it that way. So here's our variable declarations that we put at the top, they put at the bottom. Those all look right. We created our class. We have our constructor. That all looks good. Oh, except I created 2 statements there to increment our ID, and they did it in just one.
Is there a reason that you wouldn't use this with the IDs? Because there's no need for this.
Do what?
They don't use this of the ID. Because you're not sending the ID.
So there isn't a chance of a duplicate name. The only one that exists is this one.
But then in the future, should we format the IDs sent? Should we format the variables sent in such a way that we don't use this, or is it standard to use this?
It's pretty standard because they're saying our ID is something that we're going to take care of programmatically. We're not going to let people send it to us. And we are taking care of it through this next ID field. So we're able to do that internally ourselves. But it's still an important part of the class that we want to have that unique ID. And so notice this one. They created the next ID as static. So there's only one instance of that variable throughout all of memory. It's going to keep incrementing that next ID. But no matter how many accounts are created, they'll all refer to that same next ID variable. So we'll never get a duplicate ID. Is the idea. So we're pretty close getting on there.
Wait, what? I was giving me a really weird.
Yeah, they moved everything to the bottom. All of our data fields and stuff just try to mess with us. But they're not going to mess with you guys because you noticed it right away. We'll always have problems.
What mine says is we expected but did not find a public abstract class named account that inherits from java.length.object. We did not expect but found an abstract class named account that inherits from java.length.object. So it's telling me that they didn't find it, but that they found it.
You know, like you would public.
I don't know.
So I think it defaulted to public anyways, but it went crazy on you. I think that put public first.
And then,
So anytime you're bored, now that you guys have Revel, look at all of these things you have to do. You can always keep yourself busy no matter what's going on with Revel because you have access to everything. But I'd like to skip a little bit. I'm going to let you guys keep this and play with it. But I would like to look at some of our stuff for today. So I'm going to go back to Canvas. And you can for sure keep this open. And again, because we're not keeping any sort of score, you can try them as many times as you want. These code ones, if it only gives you 3 tries, you could copy it into Netbeans and see and be like, well, it worked fine anyways. Just like when you're fighting with Hypergrade and you're like, my program worked, but Hypergrade said it didn't. That's why we don't have Hypergrade. Yeah, it shows it to you after the 3 tries. Yeah, but it wasn't exactly, that's what mine did. It says correct, but I don't know if it really was. So keep trying it, try and see what it's doing, because I think it does some weird stuff. And that's great because we get to send all of these things to Pearson and say, we don't like the way this works. And they're always actually pretty responsive to us about it, because I think this Java book is the biggest thing that they have loaded into Revel. You guys have more exercises and things than any other Revel textbook does anywhere for sure. So modules. For week 2 for us, your assignment is to do exercise 13.5, enable the geometric object comparable. There is another one of those code lens activities this week, so do that at home. Remember where you can click on that link and then visually step through that code and see what's happening. But I want to look at exercise 13.5 because otherwise I'm afraid we won't have time, because we have to go so many different places to get all of these things pulled together. So if I click on this assignment in Canvas, I see that I have to complete exercise 13.5. Well, here I am being mean to you already, making you go running off to try to find this. What is this? Well, I still have Revel open. So I can go back to my assignments, or actually to my table of contents, whichever you like better. Table of contents is probably the easiest. I can expand chapter 13. Go to the very bottom, programming exercises from the book. And I want exercise 13.5. Now I apologize to you that I can't just copy this information from the textbook into Canvas. I can legally, but I can't because we have to, my responsibility, I feel like I need to make sure that it's not in Canvas because we want all of the students to have their Revel access, right? I don't want somebody sitting beside you who hasn't purchased their Revel access, so they're constantly asking you questions, driving you crazy about it. So that's one reason this stuff is not posted in Canvas. I want them to have to go all the way to Revel to find it. So we want to make sure everybody's got there. But last time we talked about this geometric object, it's kind of weird. But 13.5 says, modify the geometric object class to implement the comparable interface and define a static max method in the geometric object class for finding the larger of two geometric objects. Draw the UML diagram. You don't need to worry about that. We saw that all the UML diagrams are included in the answers. And implement the new geometric object class. That is necessary. Write a test program that uses the max method to find the larger of two circles and the larger of two rectangles. So let's get started on this. There's a lot here, right? It's not very many words. But boy, oh boy. So the first thing I'm going to do is open Netbeans and create a new project. And notice that this one is an odd numbered one, unlike last time's, which was even. You can't find it on your menus? Is it dead? Oh, I brought up Netbeans from the start menu.
Oh, I was talking about the stuff there, but I didn't. That's gonna go.
So I think I used, I'll let you do that, but if you're in your menu,
Yeah.
see if you could find the table of contents to the book. And I just went straight to the book. And you guys might want to do that some too. Just go straight to the book. Let me know what you end up using the most. I'm always curious. Okay, I have Netbeans open. I'm going to create a new project. In my new project, I'm going to click Next here. And my computer is doing some sort of activation. Now, we haven't used Netbeans necessarily a lot on all the computers here yet this semester. So let me know if you have some sort of problem, because we did have to install something on all of them last semester. Say I just brought his. He's like, I'm not going to mess with it. Do what? Do what? We just did file new project.
No, like in the chapter. Is it one of the programming projects?
13.5. You see it? So my project name, I'm going to make it exercise 13_5 geo object. And of course, you can make your name whatever you want. Like always, if we specify something at the beginning that has to do with the chapter number, then when we look at all our projects, they'll be sorted that way. Now, we haven't created a new project yet. You guys have done that tons, I know, in your other classes. But for here now, let's make sure that it's going to save this project where you want it. By default, it's going to be using your H drive, and it's going to create a folder for this project in the Netbeans projects folder. If that's okay with you, you can just leave that location that way. If you want it to go someplace else, change that. Now, the bottom option here, create a main class. Nah, I don't want it to. I'll do that myself. So I'm going to uncheck that. That means it's not going to create that main class for me. Not going to create a package. That's all right if you've got it. We'll copy from you. That's okay. But it won't be creating that package statement, so I don't have to worry about that. It's being slow. Finally. Now I'm going to expand my source code. And you can see all I have in this project is a default package with nothing. And that's because I'm going to copy some stuff from the textbook, some of their supplied code, into this project first, and then we'll add our part. So now that I've got my project created, have you ever seen, I have had some former students before that were just amazing on the internet. I'm sure lots of you guys are, you have friends that are. But you have one of those friends who, you know, within 15 minutes can have themselves registered at 50 new websites, remember the passwords for all of them that are all different, have a bunch of stuff downloaded from all those different sites and be able to tell you what each of those do. You need to be that kind of person to work through Java 2 with finding all of the pieces to pull them together. So that is a lot of what we're going to be doing, is pulling together pieces that already exist. So you might have spent a lot of time in your first Java 1 class talking about don't use other people's code, don't use other people's code. And then in this class, we're going to use code from the textbook. We have to, right? That's our basis. That's what we're going to be working with. What code do we need? Let's check. First of all, it says that I want to modify the geometric object class. So where can I find that class? We saw last time when we were looking that it was something that was available to us, right? So why is it not showing it here? Why do we not have a link that we can use or something about this geometric object? Let's see what we can find. I'm going to do some searching. And if you look at your menu, you'll see you don't really have a search, but we do have a search here up at the top. So let's try it. I want to find that geometric object class that they keep talking about. Showing it all over the place or nowhere. Now, we want to find it in a place here where it's going to give us some information. This is chapter 20. That's a little too far. Here's chapter 13. It says listing 13.1 geometric object.java. Does that look good? Does that look like a good place? Let's try it. Yeah. Now, as I click on that and scroll around, we're looking for this listing 13.1. Now notice there's a lot of ways to find it, none of them perfect. We can use the table of contents and find it. We can do that search. What would have been the easiest way, you guys, really, is if we went to that extra stuff at the bottom of all of our table of contents in Revel and downloaded all those solution files, and in all those solution files, we would have this class, and we would be able to find it really easy in that download file. So that's always the best way. I just want us to spend a lot of time downloading all of those. Well, this class doesn't really have everything we need. It says fill code or click to answer. So I don't really want to copy this. I want it to show me the answer, and that's what I want to copy. Perfect. So now I have this geometric object class that our textbook has created. How can I select all of this really easy? Control A. And if you're clicked in a window like this in Revel, Control A will work and only select what's in the window. Then you can Control C. And I'm going to go to Netbeans. And I want to create this new class source file in my project. So I'm going to right click and say I want a new Java class, geometric object. Now before I paste, I want to select all this junk that's here and delete it or paste over it because I don't want to be adding more to it. I just want what I copied.
You want to get rid of the package?
Okay.
Unless you didn't uncheck that option when you created the project.
To not do that?
If you didn't leave it as a default package.
Oh, I did not.
So then use your package there. Or put it back in when you're done. So no matter what you do, package or no package, once you copy this code in, you should not have any errors. So make sure you don't have any red, nothing's mad at you, it's not complaining, there's no extra leftover stuff, no curly braces that shouldn't have been there. Okay, so when I look at this geometric object, I feel like I'm still missing some stuff. They said we want to instantiate a circle and a square, right? So these are more classes that we need to find from Revel that we can copy into our project. So let's just go ahead and download the whole solutions file. I'm going to go back to my table of contents, scroll to the very bottom to the supplemental material, get the solutions, and I'm going to download this one compressed file. It's not really that big because it's all just source code. Now, if I just open the zip file, I'm not going to extract it. I don't really need to, but I want to make sure before I do anything else that I can find this circle and square.java thing they're talking about. You what? Well, it actually should have these support ones, but it doesn't seem to. I hate that we're going to have to keep digging around in Revel, but I'm afraid we're going to. So let's keep digging. Let's search for rectangle. Is it 13.5? So it's probably all right there together. There it is. 13.3. So right after the geometric object class, if you just keep scrolling down, you should see the circle. And remember when you were looking at Revel, there's a video where he's talking about all of these things too. So it's not just what we're looking at today. We're trying to bring all these pieces together so that you can really follow that video. I want to look at the answer. I want to Control A. Control C. Now in my Netbeans project, could I just paste that class at the end of this one? Should I? No. I could, right? I could put 57 classes in one Java file if I wanted, but it wouldn't be a very good way of organizing things. So let's do the good way of organizing things. And let's right-click on our default package and say we want to create a new class. And this one is, I forgot if we had circle or a square. Circle. Select all this, delete it, and paste. Now I do have some errors. It says that I don't override something with my @ override statements. So I'm not going to worry about that right at this moment. I'm going to get some additional code copied in here, and then we'll fix all that. So we got our circle class copied in. Let's get our rectangle. I'm going to turn the answer on. Control A, Control C, create a new class, rectangle, and paste it all. And again, some override issues. The last thing that they show in Revel for our code is our tester. So let's click on answer and then copy that. And this class is named Test Geometric Object. So that's what I want to create my new class as in our project. Now, how are we looking? I've got some errors here. So a lot of the errors that we're running into are kind of Netbeans problems. Netbeans is kind of not the best editor or IDE in the world, but it does a pretty good job. So I'm going to try to do a save all and see if that takes care of some of my errors. Because once Netbeans saves some of these base classes, then it'll eliminate some of those errors in the derived classes. So my geometric object here is all happy. If I look at my circle class, it looks like it's okay. I got rid of those errors by saving. My rectangle class is okay, no errors. And finally, my test geometric object. Now this one I feel bad. I feel like you spend all of Java 1 worried about creating your own code. And then here at the beginning of Java 2, I'm like, let me teach you how to grab all this code so that you can put it together in one project. But as an advanced programmer, that's what you're going to be doing a lot of the times, is taking things that other people have created and adding to them or extending their capability. So where we are right now, this thing should run. If everything's copied properly and saved properly, we should be able to run. We should find a main method here in our test geometric object class. That's where we want to start execution. So it should pop up and find it, hopefully. Click OK. And then down at the very bottom, we should see some output. It says, based on the circle object you created that had a size of 5 in the rectangle object you created that had a width and height of 5 and 3, the area and the perimeter are such and such. So that looks good. It's working. Now what's happening there, when our tester class starts to instantiate a geometric object, it starts out creating GeoObject1, and it says this is a new circle. So we jump to our circle class, and in our circle class, our constructor is executed that creates an instance of a circle. Our tester continues execution, says I want to create another geometric object, and this is going to be a rectangle. So notice right here that we're looking at inheritance. The circle and the rectangle are both geometric objects. Could we change this code to, instead of saying geometric object here, saying circle there? Do we make it more specific like that? To be able to. And rectangle. So if we do that, where we create a circle and a rectangle, really doesn't change anything for this program, does it? It's still going to run exactly the same. Doesn't matter at all. They're both still instances of geometric objects. That's their base class. So no matter what, they're both still instances of that. Is everybody's working? Jay's looks like his isn't. We got problems we need to fix. Your problem? You got it? He's got it. Everybody else got it? All right. So with our ideas of Java inheritance, our circle and our rectangle stay as geometric objects. We want to implement a comparator. Let me get back to our Pearson content. Now, as you go through your textbook, you should see a lot more information about these geometric objects, and building our project should help with that. I'm moving forward a little bit to section 13.5, and they talk about interfaces. Some of you may have experience with interfaces, and some of you may not. An interface is a construct, but it's just like a class. There's not much to it. In this video, I'll explain a lot more about interfaces, but an interface is nothing more than a rule. So I could create an interface, and he does in his, where he's talking about farm animals and things. But for us, for our geometric object, we could create an interface and associate that with our geometric object. An interface is a rule that says anybody that implements this class must implement whatever method I say. So in a geometric object, we might want every type of geometric object in the world to be able to get the perimeter. Right now in our code, that get perimeter method is set up as an abstract method saying anybody that uses me must create this method. There it is down at the very bottom. It's saying they had to do a get perimeter. So now if I create a circle, it has to have a get perimeter method. If I create a rectangle that inherits from this object, it has to have a get perimeter method, no matter what I do. Well, what if I found some sort of geometric object that didn't really know how to calculate a perimeter? It was just a little too large. Well, then I might not want this to be an abstract method. I could use an interface. And if I used an interface, I could allow just certain classes to inherit from that interface. And in the interface, I could say, everybody who uses me must implement the get perimeter method. So an interface is actually very, very short. and really small and doesn't have a lot going on with it. It's just kind of a method declaration, just like an abstract method. So here's one in Revel that give you an example. We have a public interface named Edible. And in that interface, we say there must be a method, how to eat. That method must return a string, and that method must not have any parameters. But it must tell us how to eat things. So for example, if I were going to eat barbecue, maybe I would eat it with my hands. If I were going to eat macaroni and cheese, maybe I would eat it with a fork. If I were going to eat soup, maybe I would eat it with a spoon. So the string that's returned from how to eat something is going to depend on what we're trying to eat. So an interface is like a special class, but it's just a way to, again, define the fact that a method has to be created if we use this class. When he, in his video, talks a lot about the animals and looking at all of the different things there, it's very helpful. It really enlightens a lot. And I think that I want to leave this until next time. Now, that's going to mean that you need to look at how to do this on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and change our due date for our next assignment to next Thursday, so you don't have to worry about it. Because we need to come to class next time and talk about it a little bit more, what this comparable is going to do. And I want you to have a little bit more time with Revel and thinking about your calendar and stuff like that before we do that. So on Tuesday, when we come back, we'll continue on with chapter 13, and we'll see if we need to adapt our schedule past that. But I would rather us have a good basis on this early stuff before we move off and start looking at graphical user interfaces, because that's going to be kind of easy compared to some of this. So I will update those dates. Now that only leaves us about 10 minutes, but I want you guys to go ahead and use that time to visit with each other. What did you do with the calendar? Do you need help with it? Somebody around you might be able to give you an idea. Or if you decide that you want to update yours because you rushed really bad to get it done. Yes, sir? Right.
No, we're gonna have to
If you want to. All right, questions? Revel working for everybody?
You got it.
Oh, sure, I know. I started going, hey, we gotta get this done.
And when I went to go through.
all the red lines on the right.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
It just was all to cars. So I got to start all over.
Okay. So do that. So start on it and see where you get. And then, just right click on the project.
She
And then
changed the
text that
to
off.
certain, yeah, in the text.
Okay.
She changed the geometric object here to certain. Change this one to rectangle.
Okay.
Just
What line?
It's on the project here.
Number 5 is,
I did that because I didn't really know. Yeah, I didn't change it.
Oh, yeah.
She changed it on hers, just to show that that's still just a
And
certain.
then I
Okay.
wanted to survey. I don't want to make slashes.
See when I check that. Just get it changed.
Okay, like calendar.
Yeah.
Yes, I did it in the- which we call-
So, that's my other.
Objects.
Do it.
So the other one.
You guys can read it. If you want to do it, just remind me Tuesday. I'll get it, because I don't have it printed out yet or anything yet.
Okay.
There will
So,
be some
I
differences
wasn't
once
quite
we
ready
get
for it either. Get out of here. I'll see you Tuesday.
to see what the initial.
If you want to talk to each other, stay. If you want to go, organized.
shouldn't wait till your file.
Oh, it didn't.
Yeah, but you're not in the right place. So go to your source document.
Yeah, pretty much there. So I
call them.
okay, but you can just type this in the report job, right? So and what you instead of having one, you can take the total meeting calendar and well, that's what I was thinking about teach beginning and
Right.
yeah.
It's a lot easier to use.
I'm looking at the solution. They gave me syntax here, but I think if I could just understand what they're doing, I would just alter the program I have. Because at first, I just typed in and probably typed because that'll just maybe I can well just that makes sense. I just copy it.
I don't even remember what they like $80 for the Revel.
Yeah, it's like 80 something. It's like 85.
Oh, this.
Yes.
Is that, yeah, no space.
Yeah, twice. Yeah.
Okay, so now they have
Because if you just get them close together, just add one.
I brought.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I have mine on.
Twice.
I just did the
Okay.
current
Yeah,
time.
like that's already. Yeah, I'll see if I can return those.
Oh, okay.
2 bars. So this is.
I'm sure they'll let you. They just tell them, you know, that you have an instructor.
All right. I ended up doing a copy and paste.
That's all right.
Well, thank you.
Where it started out.
No problem.
Okay.
So,
And I'm on here, it is.
Oh, this is all my own thing.
Yeah.
Files together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than for a
We
reference.
got it now. I always just right click right there. And choose new.
I
Oh,
put
so
in that.
yours mine are different because I made up a whole other. Okay, now put
Just
your
look at
first
the
one.
code that you get.
Yeah, these are two. These
See
are-
what you
This
can
is
do.
not from
Yeah.
the.
But it's
This is started off as me walking through the video.
Yeah, okay.
This is the same thing.
A lot of other stuff. What I ended up
I don't know why.
Yeah. Get using your.
I don't know exactly.
Going into the Gregorian system.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Counts, and the count
We can look
counts
over here.
0 to 11.
Mhm.
That's the solution. And then
Because like, you see
this
how
was also part of the debugging stuff. And I still kept the print. And then I added this to get the last
because of one thing.
thing, the extra, everything down below, with the exception of these 2 minutes, is from the Gregorian. Or no, it's from non-Gregorian. All of this, the rest of
There's not an object.
all of that.
That's
A lot of it's not. This one
different
technically should not be.
So, yeah, I know.
Because you could use some of these in here to print that stuff.
Okay, so basically I just need to get.
This is the guy who has
Yeah, that's fine.
Just try Eclipse first, because it's
And
kind
then
of
you
built
can
for,
instantiate
you know,
the new calendar.
Minecraft model.
And then from that, you should be able to use and devise and print it out the way it's supposed to.
And that's only 3 methods. Now, these are year, month, and print.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You could use the format that they still use
If she
that,
had like,
but instead
written
of
down what
what
exactly.
they're passing to it, because they're
Because I'm like,
passing the year month.
That's how this
Instead of passing in the year month, you can actually pass in those specific items from the year.
A lot of us.
I didn't go through and figure all that out. I left it like this,
And my numbers is wrong.
because that's a whole lot of
This is
editing.
good at
I don't care which one you do.
So all I need is these
Okay, now that's geo. that's
3
your
methods,
geo
maybe
objects.
not geometric.
Geo-
There would be a way to figure out the print method and make it do exactly what it wants.
all of that to the system.
I didn't, that's the step I didn't do. That's what I'm saying. That's the one I didn't do. There is a way to do it without doing all
Okay,
that.
Okay.
okay, so we're gonna.
So let me
finish
just show you what I have.
Geo.
Which is all wrong, but
Now, I can go to Revel and copy it.
mine, I did it on the current. So it goes on the scroll right now,
Yeah,
the month, the week, the year.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
enter your, let's see, when I do the user input, I can't, I don't know
Right
how to
there,
do
it's in the
the
middle.
user input.
There it is.
Where's
Calendar,
your-
nope,
where's
what is
your-
your too far?
Has all the
Yeah,
information.
keep going. Well, that's not right. Keep going. I'm not sure.
They didn't know how to implement this with that.
Okay, so that's printing what you've got, so that's verifying that you've got your.
Yeah, here, here.
Yeah, there's nothing right.
So,
There we
You would
go.
want to print
Shovel now.
into the two, into a long piece.
It was 13.3, wasn't it?
It's like, I still need to learn the basics of this.
This one right here, it's display name,
Teacher I had
calendar
made it
month,
easy.
calendar long.
Abstract class.
Label, recall, forget the-
Which is
Oh,
bad.
oh,
So
I
put
did
the
it
answer
nighttime.
first and then copy it.
Yeah.
Now paste that one into that
I
class
stored
just
that in
created.
certain boxes, so that I could never output. It's ridiculous. That.
I taught her this.
Okay, so I can put it up here. Well, this whole thing is not what she wants anyway.
Exactly. But you've got the information that's in there, you can turn that into your,
I don't know. I don't know.
setting that equal to a string.
That's just ridiculous.
Okay.
I'm like super
Okay.
complicated.
Now I go state.
No, you probably use that same, you can set that inside the method.
And then to figure out what's going on.
You got it.
You have no short
I'm trying to finish our video